South Asia. We should keep always in mind geographically, Balochistan is not part of South Asia. Geographically, Balochistan is a part of the Persian Gulf region. Or sometimes people with physical geography, they call it Iranian plateau. But Balochistan is separated from Iran, from the desert of Lut, Dasht Lut. So there is some natural frontier with the Persians. Similar is with the Afghans, Registan region. So it separates Afghan and the Baloch. Ko-Suleiman Mountain, River Indus, Kirthar, Hab River, separate Baloch from the South Asia. So those are very important. I mean, our geography, our ethnicity. Baloch nationalism is an ethnic nationalism. Maybe we can question many things in the research work, but common belief is that we are one people. Rather, sometimes we believe we are one race. So that's two important factors. One is common geography, and second is our common history. But this process was, as I mentioned, was interrupted. It was disturbed by the colonialist, whether direct rule or indirect rule. So British, they regarded Balochistan as a feudal state, ignoring that Balochistan is not a purely feudal state. There are tribal provinces. And that in history called it Sindhi school. General Napier's and General John Jacobs, so that was their view in the 19th century, that Balochistan is a feudal state. Whereas the Punjabi school, which came from Dera Ghazi Khan, so since they confronted the tribesmen, Lagaris, Mazari, Mari, Bhuttis, so on, so they viewed it that the Balochistan is a tribal confederacy. So both school were wrong. I mean, the reality is the Balochistan was a feudal as well as a tribal. So there was two provinces. And there is a third category, the vassal states of Balochistan. So Sistan area in Iran and Afghanistan, Lasbela in Balochistan, present-day Balochistan, and the Dodai plain areas. So they were controlled by Kalat or Khanate of Kalat indirectly. So they had some sort of an alliance. Khan was a supreme leader in military and foreign affairs. So I will not discuss those events. So we can summarize so here Khan's role is the head of the confederation or head of alliances. So that was the 18th century, 19th century Baloch development or Balochistan state development. So British, when they entered, so they decided to promote their interest in Central Asia, in Middle East, in the Gulf, to divide Balochistan. So we see in the middle of the 19th century, Balochistan was divided. Its area of Jakbabad, its area of Derajat was handed over to Multan division, to Sindh. whereas outer Sistan was given to Afghanistan, and the area of western Balochistan, which is consisted of Sarhad, Saravan, Makran, is a part of today Iran. So that was the division of Balochistan, and the real reason was that strategic. It was not more economic, as the British, they exploited India. It was not the case. It was purely strategic how to control Russian expansion towards India or towards the Gulf, the waters, warm waters. So in this way, the Baloch unity was disturbed by the foreign forces. And in addition, there is our own role, and that's a tribal role. And that's a tribal, what we call it, Sardari system, Sardari-nism. Sardar has always in Baloch history, they were chosen people. Tribesmen, they always they elected them through girgas. So it was the contribution of the British that Sardari system or Sardars became hereditary. So that means to divide Baloch and to put them under the control of chiefs, that they can manage easily in their affairs. Main thing for the British was that to control passages, passes for commercial reason. So important passages or passes, whether it was in the Pashtunkhwa area, whether it was in Balochistan, they were controlled by the British with the help of the Sardars or Maleks and Pathan Maleks. So that strategy worked. But people, they have to face poverty, suppression, migration. So one of our weakness of our nationalism today is that majority of our population is outside the administrative borders. You take simply two districts, for example, Dera Ghazi Khan and Jacobabad. Their population is more Baloch they live than compared to administrative Balochistan. I'm not saying Balochistan, administrative Balochistan, which was created by the British and later on by Pakistanis. So in this difficult time, then we see efforts by the Baloch. We also see many uprisings in the Balochistan. So I'm not going to touch, we don't have so much time to discuss each uprising, but I will touch the last one, uprising of the First World War. As you know, I mean, in First World War, Ottoman Turkey, a seat of the Caliphate, so they were involved in the war during First World War against the British, against the Tsarist Russia, against the France. They were held by Germans. So as a caliph, so they had a great influence on the Muslim of Afghanistan, Muslim of South Asia. Balochistan was also included. So during that time, we see a great uprising in the area of Sarhad in Iranian Balochistan. Makran also, we see uprisings. And the eastern part of Balochistan, particularly in Jhalawar, in Mari, Khetran areas. So there exists a lot of literature in the British archives in unpublished record, which gives activity of the Ottomans or German supporters. the role of the ulama, Indian ulama, so what they call it, Khilafat movement. But disunity did not bring any result. So realizing that Baloch, they are divided, there is a tribalism. So some people, they decided to organize the Baloch on modern line, on modern ideas. So we find two groups of people. In the early stage are the revolutionaries who lost war in the Mari and Khetran belt. They migrated to Soviet Union. And in 1922, Bolsheviks, they called a grand conference in Baku, present-day Azerbaijan, and it called the Conference of the People of the East. And most of the nations, they were invited or they participated themselves. Indians, Afghans, from Chinese Turkestan, from East, Southeast Asia, Kurd, and the Balochistan delegation was also present there. They had a special seat there as a country, as a nation. And it was led Misri Khan. His name was Misri Khan. He was one of the leader of the Khetran Mari uprising. And it's very interesting when Indians, they try to get hold of him and tell him that you are Indian. So he said, no, we are not Indians. We are a separate country, we are a separate nation. And Russian, Bolsheviks, they accepted this, that Balochistan is a separate country, is a separate nation. And we should also keep in mind that the Ottoman Empire or the Ottoman Caliphate always accepted Balochistan as a separate state. So, then we entered, I have not much time, so I will try to summarize it. Then in 1929, young Balochs, they decided to form a political party. And this party I had already mentioned was called Anjuman-e-Ittihad Baloch wa Balochistan. It was led by Muhammad Yusuf Aziz Maksi. He is the founder of Baloch nationalism with his ideas. I mean, not only activities, with his ideas. And so Anjuman decided to speak of the first atom of their program was the unity of the Baloch through constitutional means. Second was reforms. In reforms, two things were very important. One was women's education was very important, and the abolition of the jirga system, or tribalism, and certain reforms in field of economic and infrastructure and so on. And this party was in 1937 was reorganized, and its name was Karat State National Party. It had again the same agenda with reforms in Balochistan. On the constitutional side, Khan of Kalat, Mir Ahmad Shah Khan, fighting the battle with the British. And he was helped by the founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was his legal advisor. And Jinnah submitted memorandum to cabinet mission in 1946. So I'm emphasizing the memorandum was submitted by Jinnah to cabinet mission to the British government. And it says Balochistan is not a part of the Indian Empire. Balochistan is a separate sovereign identity. So in 1947 we see Jinnah as a designated Governor General. He signed an agreement with Khan of Kalat, or Khanate of Kalat. And its first provision was that Pakistan recognizes Khanate as a sovereign independent state. But of course, in September 1947, there was a pressure on the Pakistani government not to recognize anymore Balochistan as a sovereign state, and to press the Khan of Kalat for accession. So in 1947, we see Pakistan military action, naval action also, and Balochistan was forced to merge to Pakistan. So that was the end of the Baloch sovereign identity. And since then we see Baloch are struggling for autonomy, right of self-determination, separate state. So that struggle goes on. So here I finish my paper. Thank you very much.